Just 2 slices left. Make it look like a feast. She can't know we're empty.
The cold rain did not care that Danielle Harris had nothing left to give. It did not care that her hands were raw from scrubbing restaurant floors until 2 in the morning, or that her stomach was screaming from a hunger she had been forced to ignore for 3 straight days. In the dim, freezing light of 5:58 a.m., the only thing that mattered was the rusted latch of her refrigerator door. She pulled it open, praying for a miracle. But the shelves were entirely bare. There was no milk, no eggs, no juice. There were only 2 dry slices of white bread, 1 bruised banana, and a tiny jar of peanut butter with barely enough left to scrape against the plastic. This was everything she had to her name. It was the absolute boundary between survival and starvation for her 7-year-old daughter, Amara. Danielle stood frozen in the pale light of the kitchen, her heart hammering against her ribs. She swallowed hard, forcing down the choke of hot tears that threatened to break through her exhaustion. She could not break down. Not now. Not in front of her. If she cried, Amara would know. And if Amara knew how desperate things really were, the little girl's bright, innocent world would shatter. With trembling fingers, Danielle took the 2 pieces of bread. She carefully scraped every remaining molecule of peanut butter onto them, pressing them together with the reverence of someone handling gold. She peeled the banana, slicing it into thin, perfectly even little circles, spreading them across the bread to make it look like a feast. She placed the sandwich neatly inside Amara's worn plastic lunchbox. On a tiny scrap of torn paper, Danielle wrote a quick note. "Have a great day. Love, Mum." She slipped it right on top of the food. "Baby," Danielle whispered, her voice cracking slightly as she turned toward the small kitchen table. Amara was sitting there, her giant brown eyes wide and trusting, her school uniform neatly pressed despite the poverty surrounding them. "Eat every single bite today, okay? Promise me." Amara smiled, a radiant, blinding expression of pure innocence that could light up the darkest room. "I promise, Mummy. Are you eating your breakfast too?" Danielle forced a warm, bright smile onto her face, though her empty stomach physically ached. "I already ate at work, sweetie. I had a big breakfast. Now let's get your backpack. We can't be late." It was a lie, a necessary, heartbreaking lie. Danielle hadn't eaten a full meal in 72 hours, saving every scrap for her daughter. But as long as Amara was fed, Danielle could endure anything. 5 minutes later, they stepped out into the pouring rain, sharing a single frayed umbrella. The neighborhood was quiet, swallowed by the gray morning mist. The streets were cracked, the buildings worn down by time and neglect. But as they walked down their usual route towards the elementary school, they both knew exactly who they would see on the corner of Elm Street. He was always there. An old man named Calvin Montgomery. To the rest of the neighborhood, he was just another piece of broken furniture on the sidewalk. He looked completely homeless, wrapped in a faded, oversized canvas jacket that had seen decades of wear. His long beard was as white as winter's snow, contrasting sharply with his weathered, dark skin. He sat on the same cold, damp park bench every single morning, never moving, never speaking. Most people in the city didn't even look at him. They looked through him. Some people openly laughed as they hurried past in their dry clothes. Others aggressively moved to the far edge of the sidewalk, pulling their coats tight as if poverty were a disease they could catch through the air. He never begged. He never held out a cardboard sign. He never asked a single person for a single penny. He just sat there, staring down at an object in his lap. But Amara never ignored him. Every single morning, no matter how hard it was raining, she would wave her tiny hand and call out, "Good morning, Grandpa." And every single morning, the old man's tired, heavy eyes would lift, A soft, genuine smile would break through his white beard, and he would nod back with a gentle, profound respect. It was a silent agreement between the youngest soul on the block and the oldest. But today felt completely different. As Danielle and Amara approached the bench, the air felt heavy. The old man wasn't just sitting quietly today. His head was completely lowered into his hands, his shoulders heaving up and down in rhythm with the falling rain. He was crying. It wasn't a quiet, hidden cry. He was weeping openly, his entire body trembling under the weight of an agonizing, crushing sorrow. In his calloused, shaking hands, he wasn't holding money or food. He was gripping a battered, dented, vintage metal lunchbox. It was a child's lunchbox from decades ago, scratched and faded, held tightly against his chest as if it were the most valuable treasure on earth. Amara stopped dead in her tracks. The tiny girl froze on the wet pavement, her eyes locked onto the weeping old man. "Amara, sweetie, come on," Danielle said softly, her hand gently pressing against her daughter's shoulder. "We're going to be late for the school bell. We have to keep moving." But Amara didn't move an inch. She couldn't. Her tiny chest heaved as she looked at the old man's tears, then down at the plastic lunchbox gripped tightly in her own hand. She knew what it felt like to have an empty stomach, but she also knew what it felt like to be entirely alone. She looked at her only food for the day. She looked at the single sandwich that her mother had sacrificed everything to make. Without a word, Amara stepped out from under the umbrella. Before Danielle could even realize what was happening, the little girl walked straight through the pouring rain, stopping right in front of the shivering old man. She leaned down, her voice incredibly soft, cutting through the sound of the falling rain. "Please stop crying. You can have my school lunch." The tiny plastic lunchbox extended into the space between them, a small gray island of hope in the middle of a freezing downpour. Inside sat two meticulously cut halves of a sandwich, decorated with perfectly sliced circles of banana and a small scrap of paper that read, "Have a great day. Love, Mom." It was everything Amara possessed in the world, the absolute boundary between her survival and gnawing hunger she knew all too well. Yet, looking at the weeping old man, she didn't see a stranger. She saw someone whose heart was breaking completely in half. Calvin Montgomery's chest heaved, a ragged, choking sob escaping his throat as his blurred vision focused on the little girl standing directly in the rain. His calloused, trembling hands remained clamped over his late daughter's dented, pale green metal lunchbox, the sacred artifact he carried every single year on this exact, agonizing anniversary. For decades, he had sat on this very bench, enduring the cold glances, the cruel laughter of passing strangers, and the deliberate steps people took to avoid his poverty-stricken facade. They thought he wanted their loose change. They thought he was begging for survival. None of them knew he was a man drowning in the memory of the last morning he had ever packed a lunch for his own little girl, right before an incoming truck stole her away from him forever. He stared at the offering. He stared at the child's bright brown eyes, completely wide and filled with an ancient, profound empathy that no 7-year-old should have to understand. "No, sweetheart." Calvin's voice was a rough, gravelly whisper, cracking under the weight of 72 years of life and an ocean of unexpressed grief. He gently shook his head, his white beard trembling, though his upper lip remained completely bare of any mustache hair. "No, thank you, baby. That's yours. You need your strength for school today." Amara didn't pull the box back. Instead, a soft, radiant smile broke across her wet face, a blinding flash of pure innocence that seems to push back the heavy gray morning mist. "I'm little, Grandpa," she whispered softly, her voice cutting cleanly through the steady, rhythmic drumming of the rain. "I don't get very hungry. My mommy gave me a big feast today, but I want to share it with you." Please take it. It makes the crying go away." Behind her, standing on the slick, cracked pavement, Danielle Harris froze, her hand clamped tightly over her own mouth to smother a sudden violent sob. The words cut through her like a physical blade. She knew it was a lie. The audience knew it was a lie. Amara hadn't eaten a single crumb since the previous evening, and her own empty stomach was currently screaming in agony. Danielle had sacrificed her raw, aching hands, scrubbing restaurant floors until 2 in the morning, just to scrape the last molecules of peanut butter out of a plastic jar for her baby. To see her daughter willingly hand over that hard-won survival to a homeless man on a park bench was almost too much for her heart to bear. Yet she did not step forward to stop her. She couldn't. The sheer moral beauty of her daughter's soul paralyzed her right there in the rain. Calvin looked from the modern plastic box up to the child's face. His hands began to shake violently. As his fingers brushed against the container, his eyes caught the tiny handwritten note resting on top of the sandwich. "Have a great day. Love, Mom." The world around Calvin entirely vanished. The decades rolled backward in a crushing, instantaneous wave. It was the exact same script, the exact same looping handwriting his own late wife used to slip into their daughter's metal lunchbox 50 years ago. The emotional dam inside the old man completely shattered. He didn't see a stranger's child anymore. He saw an angel sent directly from the heavens to tell him that his agonizing loneliness had finally been heard. He reached out, his weathered, dark fingers reverently lifting the larger half of the sandwich, holding it as if it were solid gold. "Thank you, little one," he wept openly, the tears tracking down his deep wrinkles. Amara beamed, completely satisfied. She adjusted the straps of her dark blue school backpack, stepped back under her mother's frayed black umbrella, and took Danielle's trembling hand. "See, Mommy?" Amara whispered as they turned to walk towards the school bell. "Grandpa isn't lonely anymore." Danielle didn't speak. She couldn't. She just squeezed her tiny hand, pulling her close against her side as they hurried down Elm Street. She thought the hardest part of their morning was over. She thought the worst boundary of their poverty had been crossed. She had absolutely no idea that the real story had not even begun. Exactly 7 minutes later, as the school gates came into view, an eerie, low rumble began to echo through the cracked suburban streets. It wasn't thunder. It was the synchronized mechanical purr of heavy, high-performance engines moving at high speed. Suddenly, a massive midnight black luxury Escalade rounded the corner, its reinforced tires splashing heavy sheets of water onto the sidewalk. Then came another and another. The entire street completely froze. School buses ground to a halt mid-intersection. Neighbors stopped dead on their porches, coffee mugs hovering halfway to their mouth. Passers-by instantly pulled out their smartphones, their eyes wide in absolute disbelief. One after another, a flawless, terrifyingly powerful convoy of exactly 11 identical black Escalades lined the entire length of the avenue, blocking traffic completely. The doors flew open in perfect unison. Highly trained, imposing security agents in sharp black suits and earpieces stepped out into the pouring rain, immediately scanning the perimeter with cold, calculated precision. The quiet, neglected neighborhood looked like a high-security military zone. Before Danielle could even process the chaos, an elegant, older woman in a tailored designer coat rushed out from the center SUV. She completely ignored the rain, sprinting past the security details straight towards the park bench on the corner. "Dad!" she screamed, her voice cracking with absolute panic and profound relief as she threw her arms around the old man in the canvas jacket. "Dad! Oh my God, we've been looking everywhere for you! You turned off your tracking device again!" Danielle's breath caught in her throat. She stopped, her eyes wide, staring back at the corner of Elm Street.
The neighborhood witnesses gasped. The old man on the bench wasn't a vagrant. He wasn't a broken piece of furniture on the sidewalk. The weeping stranger was Calvin Montgomery, the sole founder and primary shareholder of Montgomery Foods International, one of the largest agricultural and food empires across the entire United States, a man possessing a personal net worth of over $900 million. Every year, on the dark anniversary of his daughter's tragic passing, Calvin secretly left his sprawling, guarded estate. He didn't do it for media coverage. He didn't do it as a calculated publicity stunt or a bizarre billionaire experiment. He did it to plunge himself into absolute, raw isolation, living on the exact same streets where his daughter had taken her final breath. He wanted to feel the cold. He wanted to feel the hunger. He wanted to see who in this cruel world would still see him as a human being when he had nothing left to offer them. For 12 straight hours, thousands of wealthy people had walked right past him, stepping over him like trash. Only a starving 7-year-old in a frayed uniform had stopped to offer him his only meal. Calvin gently patted his daughter's shoulder, his eyes looking past the security detail, searching the misty rain. He looked down at the plastic container, then out towards the distant figure of the little girl with the colorful hair clips. A slow, powerful shift was taking place inside the billionaire's chest. He didn't reach for a checkbook. He didn't order his assistants to hand out thousands of dollars. That would be too simple, too predictable. True moral justice required something much deeper. It required a complete, systematic restructuring of reality for the family that had saved his soul. "I found what I was looking for, Cynthia," Calvin said softly to his daughter, his voice completely steady now as he carefully placed the handwritten note into his pocket. "Get the security team ready. I need names, an address, and an absolute history of everything they have ever lost."
The frayed black umbrella barely kept the worst of the downpour away as Danielle and Amara hurried through the heavy iron gates of Elm Street Elementary School. The school bell rang out, a loud, tinny chime that shattered the morning mist just as Amara rushed up the concrete steps. She turned back one last time, waving her tiny hand with a bright, completely satisfied smile before disappearing into the crowded hallway. Danielle stood on the pavement, watching the door close, her chest tightening with an ache that had nothing to do with her exhaustion. She was entirely empty. The single precious meal she had scraped together with her raw, aching hands was gone, resting in the care of an old man on a park bench. Her daughter would go through the school day with nothing but water, and Danielle had to head straight to her morning housekeeping job on an empty stomach. Yet, looking up at the gray sky, she felt a strange, quiet peace. She spent the next 6 days operating on pure survival instinct. She scrubbed the massive, cold marble floors of luxury suburban estates until noon, then ran through the city to wash heavy, grease-stained dishes at a crowded seafood restaurant until 2 in the morning. Every muscle in her body screamed for rest. Her wages were immediately swallowed by past-due electricity notices, leaving her with exactly $4.13 to her name. Every single morning, she and Amara walked past the corner of Elm Street, but the park bench remained entirely empty. The old man with the snow-white beard and the vintage metal lunchbox was gone. The neighborhood rumors had exploded, with local shopkeepers whispering about the 11 black SUVs and the secret billionaire who had been living among them like trash. Danielle ignored the gossip. She didn't expect a reward, nor did she regret her daughter's sacrifice. True kindness wasn't a business transaction. It was a gift freely given.
Then, exactly 1 week after the morning in the rain, the invisible hand of destiny struck. It was a cold, overcast Thursday afternoon when Danielle returned to her cramped, crumbling apartment complex. Her mind was heavy with the knowledge that her monthly rent was due in less than 24 hours, and her landlord, a ruthless man named Marcus Vance, was notorious for throwing families onto the street the exact second their payment was late. As she climbed the creaking wooden stairs, she braced herself to beg him for a 3-day extension. Instead, she found Marcus standing directly outside her door, his arms crossed tightly across his chest, his face twisted into an expression of deep, aggressive suspicion. "Vance," Danielle said softly, her heart instantly hammering against her ribs as she pulled her keys from her pocket. "I know why you're here. I'm short on the cash right now, but I swear if you give me until Monday morning after my double shift—" "Save it, Danielle," Marcus interrupted, his voice dropping into a harsh, bitter growl as he slapped a thick, heavy manila envelope directly against her chest. "I don't need your excuses, and I certainly don't need your $4. Open it." Danielle's fingers trembled as she tore open the top seal of the envelope. Her breath caught completely in her throat. Inside was an official gold-embossed legal document bearing the stamp of the city's primary housing authority. Attached to the front was a certified bank ledger. What is this?" Danielle whispered, her eyes frantically scanning the numbers typed across the clean white paper. "Don't play dumb with me," Marcus hissed, stepping closer, his eyes narrowing into slits. "Every single dollar of your rent has just been fully paid, not just for this month, not just for this year. Someone just deposited a certified corporate check that covers your entire lease for the next 10 years. No name, no signature, just a blank, anonymous trust under your name." Danielle staggered backward against the wall, her mind spinning into absolute chaos. 10 years, over $80,000 of debt entirely wiped off the face of the earth in a single second. "I don't understand," Danielle gasped, her voice cracking as tears filled her eyes. "Who did this? I don't know anyone with this kind of money." "That's exactly what I want to know," Marcus snarled, his ego deeply bruised by the sudden loss of power he held over her. "People like you don't just get $80,000 dropped into their laps from ghosts. You're working 2 minimum wage jobs, yet a shadow corporation is buying out your apartment? You better not be bringing illegal activity into my building, Harris. I'm watching you." He turned and stomped down the hallway, leaving Danielle standing completely frozen in the dim light. She clutched the document to her chest, her mind instantly racing back to the weeping old man on the bench. Could it be him? Before she could even process the shock, the old landline inside her apartment began to ring loudly, its shrill tone echoing through the empty rooms. She rushed inside, dropping her keys onto the counter as she lifted the plastic receiver to her ear. "Hello? Is this Danielle Harris?" "Yes, this is she. Who is this?" "Ms. Harris, my name is Eleanor Vance, Senior Administrator at the University Chancellor's Office. I am calling to inform you that an emergency meeting was held this morning regarding your daughter's future academic placement. Effective immediately, an independent multi-million-dollar educational endowment has been established in Amara Harris's name. Her future college tuition, housing, books, and international study fees have been fully funded through a private, non-revocable trust." Danielle sank slowly to the kitchen floor, her knees completely giving out beneath her. The cold linoleum offered no comfort against the sheer weight of the miracle collapsing over her life. A trust? From who? Please, you have to tell me who is doing this to us. The donor has requested absolute anonymity, Ms. Harris, the administrator replied softly, her tone shifting from corporate professionalism to genuine warmth. But there was a specific note attached to the fund instructions. It says, "A heart that shares its last meal deserves to never worry about tomorrow. Congratulations, Ms. Harris. Your daughter is completely safe." The line went completely dead. Danielle pulled the phone away, staring blankly at the bare walls of her tiny kitchen. The unanonymous gifts weren't just money. They were a systematic demolition of every single wall of poverty that had ever kept her family trapped in the shadows. The old man on the park bench had seen them. He had seen the raw sacrifice, the starving child, and the mother's silent tears. But as the evening shadows began to stretch across the neighborhood, the sudden astronomical shift in her fortune began to trigger a dangerous escalating complication. The next morning, as Danielle arrived at the luxury estate where she worked her housekeeping shift, the front door didn't open to the usual quiet halls. Instead, her employer, a wealthy, insecure socialite named Victoria Sterling, stood waiting in the foyer, flanked by 2 private security guards. On the glass table sat a missing diamond necklace. Danielle said, her voice dripping with ice as she pointed a manicured finger directly at her. "The police are already on their way. A woman who can suddenly afford a 10-year apartment buyout doesn't do it on a maid's salary. You stole from me, didn't you?"
The words hung in the opulent, air-conditioned silence of the grand foyer like a suffocating shroud. Danielle stood entirely paralyzed, the heavy canvas tote bag slipping from her numb fingers and hitting the polished marble floor with a dull thud. Her mind, already stretched to its absolute breaking point by a week of sleeplessness and emotional shock, simply refused to process the trap unfolding directly in front of her. On the sleek, minimalist glass table sat the physical evidence of her alleged crime, a heavy, blindingly bright diamond necklace that caught the sharp light of the overhead crystal chandelier. Flanking her employer, Victoria Sterling, were 2 imposing private security guards, their arms crossed rigidly, their eyes locking onto Danielle with cold, predatory certainty. The accusation was a perfect, deadly trap, constructed out of pure class malice and deep social insecurity. I don't understand," Danielle whispered, her voice cracking as her chest heaved under her gray housekeeping shirt. "Mrs. Sterling, I have never once touched your jewelry. I have worked in this home for 3 straight years, and you know my character. I scrub your floors until my hands bleed. Why would you say this about me?" "Because numbers don't lie, Danielle," Victoria hissed, stepping forward, her expensive designer dress rustling against the pristine floor. "My landlord happens to be a close personal associate of Marcus Vance. He told me all about your little financial miracle yesterday evening. A woman who claims she cannot afford milk for her child suddenly receives an anonymous trust that buys out a 10-year apartment lease. $80,000 paid in full by a nameless ghost. Don't insult my intelligence. People from your neighborhood do not get rescued by guardian angels. You stole my diamond necklace, sold it to a luxury fence, and used the cash to secure your family's future. It is a textbook case of grand larceny." "No," Danielle cried out, tears of pure humiliation and terror breaking past her dark eyes. "That money came from somewhere else. It was an anonymous donor, I swear to you. I don't even know who did it, but it wasn't stolen cash. Please call the housing authority. Call the university trust administrators. They will tell you it's a certified corporate account."
They will tell me exactly what your high-end lawyers paid them to say, Victoria sneered, her ego deeply validated by the sheer terror visible on her employee's face. The police have already been dispatched to your crumbling apartment complex to conduct a thorough search. If they find a single grain of evidence, or if the local pawn shops match your description, you will spend the next 15 years of your miserable life behind bars. Your little girl will be stripped away from you before sunset today. Hand over your keys and step away from the entrance. You are completely finished here. Before Danielle could even offer another word of defense, one of the heavy-set security guards aggressively grabbed her upper arm, forcing her backward toward the massive wrought iron front doors. They shoved her out into the cold, damp morning air, slamming the door shut with a violent final click that echoed through her very soul. Danielle staggered down the stone driveway, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The emotional rotation had shifted entirely from the beautiful, blinding hope of yesterday's miracles to a dark, suffocating abyss of institutional betrayal. The anonymous gifts had not saved her. They had painted a massive, glowing target on her back. In the eyes of the rich elite, a poor woman possessing sudden wealth was automatically a criminal. She ran through the rain, her feet pounding against the slick pavement as she rushed back toward Elm Street. She had to get to Amara. She had to protect her daughter before the police arrived to tear their fragile world completely to pieces. By the time she reached her neighborhood, the situation had escalated into a full-blown public execution of her dignity. 2 white and blue police cruisers were parked directly outside her apartment building, their bright strobe lights casting frantic, erratic shadows across the brick walls. A small crowd of neighbors, store owners, and passers-by had formed a semicircle on the sidewalk, whispering and pointing as 2 uniformed officers aggressively tossed cardboard boxes of their personal belongings out of the first-floor window onto the wet asphalt. Marcus Vance, the ruthless landlord, stood on the steps, directing the officers with an expression of smug, vindictive satisfaction. "There she is," Marcus shouted, pointing a thick, accusing finger at Danielle as she broke through the crowd. "That's the thief. Officers, arrest her before she destroys whatever else she took from her employer." "Stop! Please stop!" Danielle screamed, dropping to her knees on the wet pavement, frantically gathering the scattered fragments of her life from the puddles. Her hands clutched a water-damaged drawing Amara had made for her, then a small plastic hair clip. "You can't do this. We haven't done anything wrong. The rent is paid for 10 years. You have no legal right to evict us." "I have every right to protect my property from a criminal investigation," Marcus barked, stepping down the stairs to look down at her with pure disgust. "The police are searching for stolen luxury goods. Your lease is officially terminated under the illegal activity clause. Get your trash off my sidewalk and get out of my sight." One of the police officers walked towards her, his hand resting heavily on the unclipped holster of his service weapon. "Ms. Harris, you need to stand up and place your hands behind your back. You are being detained for questioning regarding a grand larceny complaint filed by Victoria Sterling." Danielle looked up at the circle of staring faces. The very community she had lived in for years was completely silent. No one stepped forward to defend her. No one spoke a word of truth. The system had entirely aligned against her, a crushing machine designed to crush the poor and maintain the absolute power imbalance of the wealthy. She closed her eyes, a heavy, agonizing tear rolling down her cheek as she prepared to surrender to the cold metal handcuffs. She thought the worst had arrived. She thought her life was completely over. She was entirely wrong. Suddenly, a sharp, deafening screech of heavy brakes shattered the neighborhood's silence. The crowd gasped in unison, turning their heads toward the intersection of Elm Street. Rounding the corner at high speed was a familiar, massive convoy of midnight black luxury Escalades. One after another, exactly 11 identical high-performance vehicles flooded the narrow street, their roaring engines creating a physical vibration in the ground. They didn't just park along the curb, They systematically veered across the pavement, completely boxing in the 2 police cruisers and cutting off every single exit block. The heavy doors flew open in perfect synchronized unison. 22 imposing private security details in flawless black suits and earpieces stepped out into the rain, immediately establishing an impenetrable tactical wall between Danielle and the police officers. From the rear SUV, a door opened slowly. Out stepped an elderly black man with a thick snow-white beard, carrying a battered, dented, vintage metal lunchbox tightly in his hand. The true master of the game had finally arrived, and the entire power balance of the world was about to shift forever.
The heavy rain did not dare to slow down the rhythmic, measured footsteps of Calvin Montgomery as he walked directly into the center of the hostile crowd. The line of 22 private security agents shifted instantly, creating an unyielding human corridor that insulated Danielle from the police officers and the stunned onlookers. Marcus Vance's mouth hung open, his face draining of all color as his eyes darted from the massive fleet of 11 black Escalades to the old man he had dismissed as a worthless vagrant just days prior. The uniformed police officers instinctively stepped backward, their hands dropping completely away from their weapon holsters as they recognized the sheer, unadulterated power of the man standing before them. The entire neighborhood street became a silent theater of absolute moral judgment. Calvin stopped directly beside Danielle, who was still kneeling on the wet asphalt, clutching her daughter's water-damaged drawings to her chest. He did not look at the police, nor did he look at the trembling landlord. He slowly knelt down on the damp pavement, completely ignoring the mud staining his clothes, and gently placed his calloused hand over Danielle's trembling fingers. "Stand up, my daughter," Calvin said, his voice a deep, resonant rumble that carried the immense weight of a billionaire tycoon and the gentle warmth of a father. "Your days of kneeling in the dirt to beg for your dignity are officially over. The world is finally going to answer for what it did to you." He carefully helped Danielle to her feet, taking the rain-soaked drawings from her hands and passing them to an assistant who stood ready with a dry velvet cloth. Calvin then turned his body toward Marcus Vance, his weathered face hardening into an expression of absolute terrifying authority. The snow-white beard on his jawline bristled against the cold air, his bare upper lip tightening as his piercing eyes locked onto the landlord. You're that homeless man," Marcus stammered, his voice rising into a panicked defensive squeak as he tried to maintain his footing on the apartment steps. "Look, mister, I don't care how many cars you have. This woman is under a criminal investigation for grand larceny. She stole a diamond necklace from her employer, Victoria Sterling. I have every legal right to protect my building from a thief." "The only thief standing on these steps is you, Marcus Vance," Calvin replied, his voice dropping into a dangerous, bone-chilling whisper that vibrated through the silent crowd. He raised his hand, snapped his finger once, and a senior legal analyst in a sharp gray suit stepped forward, holding a thick leather binder. 30 minutes ago, my corporate legal team completed an emergency acquisition of the Municipal Housing Registry. I didn't just buy this building, Mr. Vance. As of 9:45 this morning, Montgomery Foods International has purchased every single square inch of real estate you own under your shell companies across this entire state. Marcus staggered backward, his heels catching on the top steps as his breath left his body.
You bought my properties? I bought your debt, Calvin corrected coldly, taking a step up the stairs, towering over the terrified landlord. And upon reviewing your financial ledgers, we discovered systematic illegal utility overcharges, fraudulent eviction filings, and 27 distinct violations of the Fair Housing Act directed specifically to low-income single mothers. You are completely wiped out. My attorneys have already filed federal racketeering charges against you. Within the next 2 hours, asset freezing orders will take effect on every single one of your bank accounts. You will leave this property with nothing but the clothes on your back. Marcus sank to his knees on the very concrete where he had stood proudly moments ago, his mind completely collapsing under the weight of the instantaneous power shift. Before the crowd could even process the magnitude of the landlord's destruction, a third police cruiser screeched to a halt at the edge of the perimeter. The door flew open and Victoria Sterling stepped out onto the wet asphalt, her expensive designer coat soaked, her face twisted in absolute panic. She sprinted past the security line, her eyes wide as she spotted Calvin Montgomery. "Mr. Montgomery!" Victoria cried out, her voice dripping with desperation as she threw herself toward the billionaire. "Oh my God, I came as fast as I could. There has been a terrible mistake. My domestic staff found my diamond necklace. It was misplaced inside my daughter's jewelry drawer the entire time. I have already called the police department to drop all the charges against Danielle. It was a completely innocent misunderstanding." "An innocent misunderstanding, Mrs. Sterling?" Calvin asked, his voice echoing clearly across the entire neighborhood block. "You didn't file a police report because of a missing necklace. You filed it because your fragile ego could not tolerate the fact that a woman who scrubs your floors was granted financial independence by an anonymous hand. You wanted to crush her spirit to maintain your own sense of superiority." "No, please," Victoria wept, her manicured hands shaking violently as she realized the true identity of the man defending her maid. "My husband's firm relies entirely on your distribution contracts. If you cancel our logistics agreements, we will lose everything." "Then I suggest you learn how to scrub floors, Mrs. Sterling." Calvin turned his back on her permanently. "Because as of this second, every single contract bearing the Sterling name has been permanently terminated. You will never do business in this country again." The police officers quickly moved in, gently but firmly escorting the weeping Victoria Sterling and the catatonic Marcus Vance away from the scene, leaving the sidewalk entirely clear. The community witnesses erupted into spontaneous, thunderous applause, their cheers cutting through the falling rain as the ultimate moral payoff was delivered in front of their eyes. Calvin walked back over to Danielle, lifting his late daughter's vintage metal lunchbox one last time. "A week ago, your beautiful little girl offered me her only meal because she couldn't bear to see an old man cry. Today, a new community center is opening under the name of the Amara Harris Foundation. You will lead it, Danielle. Your poverty is gone, but your dignity remains untouched." Danielle smiled through her tears, looking out toward the school gates where Amara was completely safe, knowing that the truth had finally emerged and the system had finally been forced to serve justice.